It says wholesale prices more than doubled since 2020 in some markets, but the increases aren't felt equally. Many areas with the biggest jumps, like Baltimore, are near data center hotspots. It says of the nodes that recorded price increases, more than 70% are located within 50 miles of significant data center activity. So it says tech companies, now among the biggest and most powerful forces in the world, have staked their future on AI. Data centers, some with a footprint large enough to cover much of Manhattan, are chock full of racks of servers delivering computer power and storage needed to train and run models. Their power needs are only set to accelerate. In recent weeks alone, NVIDIA Corp said it will invest as much as $100 billion in OpenAI to support new data centers, while Microsoft Corporation struck a multi-year deal with almost $20 billion to get cloud computing power from Amsterdam-based Nebius Group NV using a New Jersey data center. OpenAI and Oracle Group forged a partnership to build 4.5 gigawatts worth of data center capacity, enough energy to power millions of American homes. How high is your electric bill? How high is it? I know some of y'all just paid it. Is it so high that you're going to have to cut your food budget? Is it high to the point where you may have to be put on a payment plan, or are you always overdue? Past due, I should say. How high is it? Is it so high that it comes as a shock to you because it felt like it went high almost instantly? Was there anything new that was built within your area that would make it high? Like there suddenly wasn't some uptick somewhere, was there? Let's take a look at this article because I think it's very important that we get into this because a lot of people's bills are skyrocketing. Now, this is out of Bloomberg. So let's get into it. So it says AI data centers are sending power bills soaring. This is a very important story to get into because a lot of people are now suffering. This person says, Kevin Stanley says, we can't figure out why it has increased so much. That's Kevin Stanley of Broadway, East Baltimore. Quote, no way I could continue to pay that kind of bill. That's Nicole Pastore of Guilford, Baltimore. And then it's killing my pockets from Antoinette Robinson of Greenmount, East Baltimore. So let's get into this. It says wholesale electricity costs as much as 267% more than it did 5 years ago in areas near data centers that's being passed on to customers. So let's take a look at this. Data centers are proliferating in Virginia, and a blind man in Baltimore is suddenly contending with sharply higher power bills. The Maryland city is well over an hour's drive from the Northern Virginia region known as Data Center Alley. But Kevin Stanley, a 57-year-old who survives on disability payments, says his energy bills are about 80% higher than they were about 3 years ago. They're going up and up. You wonder, what is your breaking point? Says it is increasingly dramatic ripple effect of the AI boom as energy-hungry data centers send power costs to records in as much of the U.S., pulling everyday households into paying for the digital economy. And so this just goes to into what is going wrong in this country, and a lot of these companies are making it so that it is a lot of these companies are making it so that it is nearly impossible to survive. All for what? For profits. For profits, and it doesn't help really anybody except for the very rich. So I want to share this as well, because this is something that I was thinking about, and I will continue on in the article in a second. But that person who's on disability, they will have to apply for something like LIHEAP. Now, what is LIHEAP? I talked about it a couple months back. LIHEAP stands for Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program. So LIHEAP was experiencing cuts from the Trump administration. So it says Trump budget proposal would end energy assistance program for low-income Americans. This came out back out in May. It says Trump's budget proposal would completely eliminate a program that helps 6 million low-income households heat and cool their homes. Supporters of the program hope Congress will save it. And so this is, something that the Trump administration wanted to do, especially when it comes to, anything that helps out low-income Americans. And so with the energy bills skyrocketing now because of these data centers, now you have a lot of the people who are the most affected. If the programs like LIHEAP are cut, then they will be out essentially, from getting any type of assistance for their energy costs. So let's continue on the article. It says a Maryland city is well over an hour drive from the Northern Virginia region known as Data Center. It says an increasingly dramatic ripple effect the AI boom as energy-hungry data centers send power costs to records as in much of the U.S., pulling everyday households into paying for the digital economy. The power needs of the massive complexes are rapidly driving up electricity bills, piling on to rising prices for food, housing, and other essentials, already straining consumers. That's starting to have economic and political reverberations across the country as utilities and the local officials wrestle over how to divvy up the costs. Yet those same facilities are a linchpin of U.S. leadership in the global AI race. So let's go here. It says Bloomberg analyzed this data in relation to data center locations and found that the electricity now costs as much as 267% more for a single month than it did 5 years ago in areas located near significant data center activity. So it says about 2/3 of the power consumed in the U.S. runs off of a state or regional grid, where the system operator manages the trading of energy. These wholesale commodity costs are passed on to households and businesses on their utility bills, which then include other changes to maintain and expand the network. That can affect even customers who aren't in close proximity to a data center, since their energy relies on the same grid. Everyday wholesale electricity prices are measured in real time by locational marginal pricing points on the power grid called nodes. LMPs are primarily made up of the cost to produce the energy and congestion. Analyzing data from 25,000 nodes used by 7 regional transmission authorities, Bloomberg News estimates how much wholesale prices in the lower 48 states have changed since 2020. So it says in 2020, wholesale electricity prices around the country hovered around $16 per megawatt hour on average, with 6 slight variations from one energy market to the next. Now, just to let you guys know, because when it comes to doing this show, I'm a broke brother. I'm not paying for a Bloomberg subscription just so that I can see the pictures of these graphs. So I did the archive version. So sorry, but I'm not paying. Look, Michael Bloomberg got enough money as it is. He don't need no more of my money. But I will read the story because it's important. But yeah, you see that 267% increase over 5 years is exponential. And this is all because of corporations want to use data centers in order to push for them to use AI. Like, for instance, like Twitter's using Grok, and Grok AI it has a data center. I think it's in Texas, and it's affecting working class people in Texas. And these data centers use diesel powered engines, which also pollute the air in the surrounding area, on top of the noise pollution that affects it. And now, on top of it, is causing utility bills to skyrocket. And so, is this actually good for the people within the surrounding area? No. And this is why it's so important for us to have a completely different system, because this system is unsustainable because it does not serve the people that it surrounds. And so this is why it's so important that we focus on these stories, especially when it comes to the regular working class. It talks about here, says in 2025, electricity costs depend far more on where you're located. Prices are high in many parts of the country, whilst in some central states have negative wholesale prices, meaning more electricity is produced than consumed. Right? It says wholesale prices more than doubled since 2020 in some markets, but the increases aren't felt equally. Many areas with the biggest jumps, like Baltimore, are near data center hotspots. It says of the nodes that recorded price increases, more than 70% are located within 50 miles of significant data center activity. So it says tech companies, now among the biggest and most powerful forces in the world, have staked their future on AI. Data centers, some with a footprint large enough to cover much of Manhattan, are chock full of racks of servers delivering computer power and storage needed to train and run models. Their power needs are only set to accelerate. In recent weeks alone, NVIDIA Corp said it will invest as much as $100 billion in OpenAI to support new data centers, while Microsoft Corporation struck a multi-year deal with almost $20 billion to get cloud computing power from Amsterdam-based Nebius Group NV using a New Jersey data center. OpenAI and Oracle Group forged a partnership to build 4.5 gigawatts worth of data center capacity, enough energy to power millions of American homes. So as the reliability crisis is here now, it's not off in the distance somewhere. He said that load forecasts, the expected demand for power on electricity grids, are a key factor in pushing up costs driven by the data center interconnection requests. So it's not just here in the United States, but it's also in other countries as well. And so while we're seeing this happen, it's affecting the lives of millions of Americans. This person, Kevin Stanley, says they can say this is going to help with AI, but how is this going to help me? And the point is, that's the good question. Like, how is this helping him directly? It's affecting him negatively directly, but how is this going to help him directly when it comes to his utility bills? It's already enough that people aren't getting paid enough of a living. They're not getting a living wage at all. Some people who are, disabled on a fixed income, they can't afford to be able to see these rising energy costs. And the only assistance I know of for people who are on a fixed income is programs like Light Heat, which is being cut. So if that's the case, then what assistance is there for anybody who needs it? So then people just suffer. For whom? It's not affecting themselves. And also these AI data centers, how many people do they actually employ? If they really don't employ many people, then really it's just screwing over the entire neighborhood. And so this is why these corporations, as they continue to grow, they need less and less workers, but they will occupy more and more of your life in order to keep that system in place so that they can continue to extract from you. Whether it's you in your pockets, whether it's environmentally, whether it's from your health, that's what they do. And now it's happening when it comes to your electric bill. And if you don't pay your electric bill, guess what? They shut it off. What happens when your electric shuts off? Well, you're subject to the elements more. Especially here in Florida, it gets hot. In places up north, when the winter comes, it gets very cold. Your food may spoil. You're unable to communicate properly because everything relies on electricity. How you keep your phone charged, how you keep your computer charged, how you get a Wi-Fi signal. What about the people who absolutely need electricity medically? What about people who have oxygen machines? What about people who need to power their electric chairs, their power chairs? What about people who need to keep different devices powered in their homes for their medical care? What about them? Is a data center really worth it? Especially if it's just screwing over the workers, screwing over the people. Like, sometimes I wonder, like, how much is your electricity bill? And does the size of your house justify your electric bill going so high? I've heard from people on Twitter that live in a 2-3 bedroom apartment, and they're telling me they're paying between $300 and $400 a month just for electricity. I'm like, my God, what? In the last place I was living, how much were we spending? We were spending about $250 a month, but we also were paying for water. Yep. And so that was a 2-bedroom. $250. On the more comfortable side, $275, especially in the summertime. By the time you start getting down to winter, we start to spend $230-ish, maybe $240. But it doesn't go down by much. And so you can try to curb energy costs all you want. You can vacuum the filters underneath your fridge. You can get energy saving windows. You can try to do all that stuff, but you're still going to end up still paying higher prices when it comes to your energy. And people say, oh, well, do all these different things so that you don't have to spend as much. And you're still focusing on the individual solution for a systemic problem. We shouldn't have to go through this anyway in the first place. And then on top of that, some of these utility companies are more for profit. And so then there's even more costs added on top of that. And so these AI data centers are increasing our electric bills on top of everything else exponentially. to the point where people can't even survive. Is it worth it? Are these data centers worth it? And it's not even like AI is helping to improve our quality of life. It's being used to replace workers. It's not being used to improve the work quality and the work-life balance of workers. So is AI really worth it at all? In this capacity. And so I think that's one of the questions that I think we should ask ourselves. But yeah, this is what's going on. This much escalation in energy costs. This is why this system has to change, because, and then these billionaires who push these AI data centers, they'll get subsidies from the government so they won't have to spend as much on electricity. So then who ends up picking up the rest of that tab? It ends up being the workers. Not us. Sorry, not them. So this is why it's so important for us to focus on changing the system instead of just putting on a Band-Aid with individual solutions. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. 1. Forehead kisses.